Hello again, leadership class. Welcome to midweek 2. This week we are reading book chapters 2 and 3 and engaging in the discussion board, which is what I put on the syllabus said docs from the field. Those are what is demanded of you or asked of you within the discussion board. So when we talk about leadership, we're really talking about, in this class anyway, we're talking about roles within human service organizations that would be leadership roles and hopefully infused by leadership qualities and skills. Some of these things are learnable, some of these things are innate. If that doesn't mean that certain personalities cannot be good leaders, but certainly there are qualities and personality traits that lend themselves towards good leadership. And how does that spell itself out in an organization, especially a human service organization, an organization that's mission involves bettering the human condition, involves serving humans in some way, shape, or form, usually as a nonprofit, but not necessarily. This also could be taken into an organization that isn't human service, but for this particular concentration for social work, that's what we're going to focus on. So why do I want docs from the field? Well, in order to really put yourself out there as a budding leader in a human service organization, you're going to need to have the understanding of what it takes to be that leader in the field and what it takes to for an organization to be a leader in the field. And what does that look like? So we're talking about traits of a particular person, which will be you, and you'll go into these roles. But we also need that to be the organization spelling that out. Now, that doesn't really make sense, right? But let's talk about what a human service organization is. It's an organization that follows a mission that is to serve something, people, person, community in general. They need to spell that out. And you'll be able to tell if it was good leadership that spelled that out by reading their mission statement, their objectives. Not every organization has actually written that and posted it on their website. However, they should have. What is the organization's mission? It should be front and foremost. It should be the first thing that you see when you visit their website. Sometimes it's really hidden. They should have some kind of strategic plan that addresses how are they going to reach that? How are they going to the mission is overarching. It's something large, and it's something that everything they do should be in service to that mission. Now, how do you do that? Well, there are goals and objectives. So hopefully this organization that you're currently interning at has these things. And that's what I'd like you to show. So I'd like you to cut and paste, upload PDFs, whatever they have that you can get your hands on is what I want you to share with us. I'd also like you just to describe in the 2 sentences I think I asked you, what it is that this organization does, because sometimes these things don't align. And then, based on what they do, I'd like you to come up with a new mission that truly addresses what their big goal is. So let's say I started and ran a prisoner reentry program in both Oklahoma and Michigan, and I ran this organization for years. So what was our overall mission? What did we actually want to do? Well, we wanted them to reenter society and stay in society and be able to live happy, healthy lives and not return to prison. So ultimately, we had these big, lofty ideas. We spelled them out a little bit more eloquently than I just did. But the main goal was to reduce recidivism. So nobody would go back to prison, right? So how would we do that? Then we'd get into our objectives, which are like mini goals. And we would do that. We would, of course, study what it is that triggers or is associated with people returning to prison, and we'd try to reduce those or increase the opposite. So, for example, unemployment is the biggest contributor to returning to prison. So we did a lot of programming around helping people become employed, and employed in something sustainable, something enjoyable, something that can pay all their bills. So that's just one example. And that would be one of our main objectives. So I'd like you to dive into this. The organization that you're placed at, hopefully you've already started. If you haven't started, then pick an organization that speaks to you. Maybe somewhere you want to work, somewhere that you're going to throw your hat in the ring for after you graduate for a job. That's what I want you to study. What do they put out there? And tell us about it. Tell us what they actually do. And then rework their mission statement and their main objectives. So let's say, maybe 3 main objectives. Now I'd like you to comment on each other's discussion boards so that you can really help, because this isn't something that we do in a vacuum all by ourselves, right? Sometimes we use words that don't quite make sense to somebody else. So help each other in this process. So when you discuss with each other on the discussion boards, I'd like you to engage with the same people. Try to go back and forth. I know that Blackboard doesn't necessarily notify you when somebody's commented on your post, but try to go back in and re-engage with the same person. Also, so that I can follow these threads, please use the person's name when you're responding to them. So you would say, Joe, I really liked how you changed the wording of this mission statement. Might you consider which population you're addressing? Something like that. Because sometimes somebody just responds and it doesn't, I can't quite tell who they're responding to, depending on how I'm looking at that thread. Okay, so enough with that, with the discussion boards. What we're going to do throughout this course is we're going to constantly pull the leadership qualities and skills back to human service organizations. So, as I alluded to earlier on in a different video, you're going to be actually creating an organization a little bit down the road. At that point, we're going to go into groups, and some of this discussion board stuff will get a little bit streamlined because you'll only be commenting within your group. If this gets a little unwieldy now, I might change to groups ahead of time. It's just that I think it's good in this beginning part for everybody to get to know everybody. So try and read through as many people as you can, but then comment with 2 people. Okay, so another thing that I wanted to tell you is that after this, I'm going to upload a tiny little video just showing how you would embed a video into your discussion boards. Because it's so much easier if you just are able to click on the little video rather than cut and pasting a link. People probably won't follow yours as much as somebody else's. If it's embedded, it's a little easier to follow. So another thing that I wanted to tell you is I'm going to try to do a wiki, and this is going to be so that we can brainstorm together. I've done a wiki once before, and I just need to get it down where you can all contribute to the wiki. I think if you erase somebody else's stuff, it stays erased, so you have to make sure that you're adding, not subtracting somebody else's contribution. So the wikis, the 2 wikis, or maybe it'll be on one that I'm going to upload into Blackboard, is going to be about leadership qualities. So I had you all answer what the differences are between leaders and managers. Some people thought that they were synonymous. Most people had differences. I think that they are different roles. You can be a leader in any kind of a role. A manager tends to be a boss, right? It tends to be the person who you report to. You might not report to the leader in the organization. Your boss might be a leader, but they might not be. And certainly a bad manager is not a leader. So we're going to keep exploring it. I'd also like to encourage you to post little videos if you'd rather actually talk through some of this stuff as if we were in class, and give me suggestions if you think that there are ways that we could do this a little bit better. I mean, it'd be so nice to actually be able to talk about this all together. We're going to do our best to try and make this online experience work as if we weren't all in our own places on computers. So one parting story that I want to leave you with is an example of a good leader, also a good manager, that I had the honor to have in my life. This was my dad. My dad was an engineer. He worked for GM for a really long career. He passed away a year ago, so he's been in my thoughts recently, and he always is. And I learned some really important lessons from him. So when I graduated from high school, he was a plant manager at a GM plant, and got me a job as a security guard because, I'm really intimidating. So I had a badge, I had a whole uniform, I was in the union. I did not have any kind of weapons, but there was a baton that I could access in the main office. But anyway, my badge only said my first name, not my last name, so that I was under the illusion that nobody knew that my dad was the plant manager. And it seemed as though they didn't know, but I'm not sure. But anyway, I would watch from the little different security booths as he would walk throughout the entire factory and stop and chat with every individual, anybody who wanted his time. And he gave them undivided attention. So he'd go over to Joe in the on the line, and he'd ask about his kid. He'd go to Sue in the cafeteria and say that he heard that her mother was sick. He'd stop and engage with every individual. It didn't matter what they were doing, what they were hired to do, but he showed that they mattered, and that is incredibly important to me. So I've noticed over the years, when I think somebody is demonstrating good leadership skills, oftentimes it's because they give undivided attention. They don't multitask when people are involved. So what I mean by that is, I have a really good friend who started and runs Brilliant Detroit, and I'll meet Cindy. I'll meet her for lunch. She has so much going on. She's an incredibly busy person. I don't get very long for lunch. I get an hour, I think literally from noon to 1. But in that hour, she does nothing but talk to me. She doesn't look at her phone. She doesn't look at her watch, although somehow or another she knows that the hour is up, and she goes, pays the bill and goes. This is, I think, incredibly important. I like to say that no time is wasted time, because you can always be spending your time with people, showing people that they're important, that what they're going through matters more than anything else you could be doing at that time. And if you're not with people, then you can be bettering yourself in that time. You can be reflecting on how you can be a better person. And to me, being a better person is being a better leader. Leading is a way, in my mind, and this will bear out, I think, as we go through the course, leading is a way of showing, of motivating the people that you're leading, the people that have come to you, to your organization, to whatever it is, to find a better way to do things. So it's a way of motivating people and showing that they matter, that your time is not more important than their time. So anyway, that's my example for the day. I'll give others as we go along. I'd love to see your faces and hear your voices. So do that if you would like. You don't have to type everything into these discussion boards. And off I go for now.